Welcome to Sewing Out Loud, the official podcast of Zede Sewing Studio. Here are your hosts, Zede and Mallory.
Sewing Out Loud. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Mallory Donahue.
And I'm Zede Donahue.
Kind of wish we had headsets because I need to stretch.
Yeah?
We've been recording.
Well, you could hold this up while you stretched.
I think that this podcast is going to be coming out in September-ish.
Okay.
And this is a really great time to talk about costuming.
It is.
Yes. So we think this is going to be a bit of a series.
It has to be. It's a big job.
It's a big topic.
Right.
So
we're actually going to...
We don't plan out our podcast.
Right.
So.
Well, what we'd like to do is go through the process of costuming for a show. Now, this could be like a show choir, this could be a musical, this could be a theatrical show, a performance of some sort.
Yes.
But we're talking about the head costumer.
So you want to be a costumer or
so
whatever.
There you go.
Yeah,
so,
there you go.
SEW, you want to be a costumer?
I got it.
Think twice. Okay.
You know, when I was in school and stuff, studying like costumes and everything, it was fun, but there were so many local jobs where I saw the costumers,
It can ruin a show for you.
No, not that. Well,
yeah.
that too. Okay, but that wasn't what I was going to say. I saw so many local costumers just getting shit on.
Yes.
Constantly.
It's a terrible job to have, honestly.
I don't think it's always a terrible job.
Yeah.
I think in the true professional world where...
Well, if you win an Academy Award, they like you,
well, right. Or like you're truly going someplace where it is valued. But like, truly a lot of... I mean, I know you did professional costuming at Lyceum.
Yes.
But
it was still about keeping under budget.
Yes, and I think
I would love to do like one of the I want to do a show for the Rockettes.
Yeah.
Okay, not a local school show choir or college show choir. I want to do the Rockettes where they go, you could have all the money you want and you could have 15 people in your, sewing studio to help you. That's why I want to try and costume one like that. Instead of being all those 15 people.
You'd like to see what that's like.
And telling me I have like $40 per person to produce 6 costumes.
On the thread where people were saying what they're a wizard at,
right?
Someone was like, I costumed, I can't remember what show it was, but like, let's say like Music Man for like $600.
Yeah, and she said 40 people, and I have to tell you, I did Music Man for 69 people.
He just put so many people in that show.
But I learned a lesson there too. What should I say? Not a costuming lesson, but something cut me down to size because I said to him, "You've put everybody in the show. I hate you. Oh my gosh," and I do have a story that I can reflect on from that I learned something about myself and the rest of the world.
You are really, when you do contribute though to your community, whether it's a school or a community theater or something,
right?
I mean, it really is magical for some people.
After you've recovered.
Either the performers
yes,
or the people who view it, I just can 100% say there's going to be some magic there for somebody.
Rewards.
Now, I'm not saying that you should kill yourself because you shouldn't.
It's the thing, Tony at Lyceum used to say, let the magic begin. Yeah, that's what he used to say because rehearsal would have been horrible the night before, and all of a sudden when the performance comes, it's like it happens.
And we complain. Zede and I complain, and it's okay to complain. It is okay to complain.
It's my way of life. No.
About stuff. You know what Brene Brown says? I'll tell you. She says it's okay to piss and moan with perspective.
That's right.
She says
that's right.
It's fine for you to complain about maybe how you were treated as a costumer or you had all these people. It doesn't mean that like you hated the experience completely or something. But I think a lot of times in the space we're in as people who sew, people are expected to sew without complaint.
Right.
Just do whatever anybody asks them to. That's how women are often treated.
Like I used to say, pull a costume out of my butt.
Right, there you
go.
Yes,
gee, no. This takes some time, yes.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. We have, there's an iTunes review where it says, like, these people just complain about sewing for others when don't they realize that what you give out comes back 5 times?
Not really. I don't think it comes back. Not per se the sewing. No.
I mean, whatever. It's okay for us to complain.
There are a lot of grateful people and there are a lot of ungrateful people.
Sure. And there are people who are all different, stages in their lives. Other stuff's going on. You don't know.
Right.
And the way they treat you might not be great. And, there you go. Anyway, so don't let people walk all over you. But I do want to say we are pissing and moaning with perspective if we ever do complain.
Well, we're going to tell you the good and the bad.
Yes. Okay, so
if we can figure out what the good was.
If we can get there. Okay. If we can get there. Of course.
So someone has asked you to what I call design a show.
There you go.
Right? And maybe you've never really done this before.
Sure. So this is coming at it from like a real beginner.
Right. And
perspective.
How I learned this was someone found out I could put in zippers when Mallory and her sister were doing professional summer stock theater. And they said they needed help in the costume show. Costume shop? Could anybody go up there? And I walked up there cold. Just absolutely cold. And this person said to me, who is a dear, wonderful friend forever, who I'll always remember, Susan Bender Pettigrew. I don't think she listens. Who knows? But she's a costumer. And she was the head costume mistress or whatever you want to call her. She was the show designer. And she said, I need some zippers put in. Can anybody put in any zippers? And I thought, something I can do, right? And I had made costumes before, but only for my own children.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And she gave me some zippers and she gave me like 2 or 3 dresses that, didn't have a zipper in them, right? They had built them. And that when you say you built it, you don't say you made it. You say, I'm building this costume.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get you in on some of the jargon here too. So she handed me this zipper and this dress and I put it in. And then I handed it back to her. Like, I think it was 9 minutes later or something.
Faster than she thought you would.
I guess. And she said, what's wrong? And I said, I wanted to ask you, is this all right? And she goes, is this all right? It works. It's beautiful. I love it. She goes, 9 minutes. 9 minutes, a zipper. Oh, my gosh. That's like maybe 7 zippers in an hour? And I said, okay, like that. So I was known as the zipper queen that year, right? So I did a lot of volunteering that year. And she said, you're working really hard. I cannot pay you. You're not in the budget.
Yeah.
Budget's been made, and that's true. If they're going to do overhire or put you on, they have to do that at the beginning of their budget. And I said, I will come every day if you show me something I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And she did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was her payment to me. And she made me really smart. She taught me how to dye things. I mean, it was just like wonderful.
Well, so if you have been asked to costume a show, and so that's Zede's entree into costuming,
right.
I want to start this off with, hopefully you've been asked in those beginning stages.
Yeah.
Before the actors...
not doing a cleanup of somebody else.
Okay, before the actors have been auditioned. Mm-hmm. So don't be surprised if somebody's doing this, if this is a new process to you.
Right.
Like, you would be working very closely with the director on the work, and you would get a script, or you would get whatever ideas. Like, I think about show choir, and it's like, okay, they put together whatever 5-6 songs.
Well, I would usually have a meeting with the director of the show choir, and there would a lot of times be a theme,
right?
And we'd talk about that. And we would talk about the musical numbers and what was expected in the musical numbers. For instance, is there a change?
Yeah.
Do you start out in one costume and change it? So you're going to know the sequence also of the numbers. And are there going to be costume changes? Are there not? Do they want major costume changes? Or do they just want a cape that gets removed or something like, what are they going for? That kind of, and how many people are there?
Okay, so how many people are there? If you are doing like a musical theater production or a play or something, you as the costumer or any good costumer who you've come in contact with, they have read the script several times.
Well, and sometimes if you're lucky, you can get a costumer's script.
Uh-huh.
Okay? And there's notes in the margin.
Yes.
So if that can happen, it's like heaven.
Okay,
because
so,
it's like, she has to have a green purse here because they speak about the green purse in the next scene or something like that.
Or how about, does something happen to a character in an outfit?
Right.
Okay, they're wearing,
right.
Well, you know what? I can't remember this perfectly because
Right.
this was a long time ago, but we did the Crucible in high school. And I costumed it, and my friend directed it, and I costumed it, and or she was assistant director, was she stage manager? I can't remember. But like in the end, Elizabeth is pregnant, but like the timeline doesn't make any sense. Like Arthur Miller, I believe, was like, oh, she's 3 months pregnant now, but she's been in jail for this long, and we don't think there were
How did that happen?
Visits or whatever.
Must have been the jailer.
So we don't know what's going on there or whatever. And so how pregnant to make someone, or do they get dirty? Do they get bloody in the same outfit? Okay.
Or do you have to have two of these costumes?
Yes.
One's bloody and beat up, and one is not, or one's been through a fire and one hasn't.
And what time? Well,
I mean, you can get that from reading the script, but boy, if you have the costumer's notes, it's even better.
So you have to get yourself in the time period too.
Right.
Okay, this is so important. And I just want to put this out there. If you're costuming anything I don't know, 1960s, 1950s or before, there should be no bare legs on stage.
That's true.
Put them in stockings,
Right.
please. Almost always. I guess there could maybe be some 1920s stuff or something, but still, they still wore stockings.
No, everybody wore stockings. If you didn't wear stockings, it was considered nasty, actually.
Well, and I'm okay, so sure, there could be a character where that would happen.
Right,
okay, I do want to allow for that, but oh my God, that is my biggest, it just takes me out of the show.
Yeah.
When I see, lots of things can take you out of the show.
Well, I think the other thing that bothers me a lot of times is so it's the 1800s. So everybody needs a long dress. Well, it doesn't need to look like it came off the prairie, though. Okay? Just because it's long doesn't mean it fits the time period. There might be something else that's important.
Yes. So
now, again, I understand everybody's in money and time restraints.
Oh, sure.
But try and do your best.
Yep.
I mean, I can sit and watch a play and go, oh my gosh, all they had to do was put a ribbon around that or pull that bustle up. Or,
I think that's what...
there's some things that you can do.
I think that's what gets me. It's
that make it not look like a prairie dress or whatever.
Unfortunately... the costumes, the best mark of a costume is almost that they are not noticed.
Well,
in some
that's considered
times.
To be, when a play gets a review or a performance gets a review. Maybe not show choir, but show choir is a lot about costumes. Is if the costumes are not mentioned, then it means it's all right.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody says they're great, that's good too. But if they're not mentioned, that's good because they became an integral part of the story and they did not distract from it.
Right. And so that will take me out of a show when I see that. Or I see a super modern undergarment. Just went to a show, saw this super modern undergarment under this piece of clothing.
Right.
And the reason I thought it was kind of egregious is because I thought it would have been so easy
to do it
not have that
they didn't
show.
wear Nikes in the 50s, guys.
Yeah. Nothing, it wasn't anything that egregious.
Yeah,
but
I mean, there are some things. Now, I have done things that were an anachronism on purpose. Okay? I think, was it Music Man, where we did the library scene, and I put horn-rimmed glasses on everyone. Now, in that era, most were wire rim type glasses, but it was kind of a joke. It was a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, and everyone had on these big horn-rimmed glasses because you could see them from the back of the studio.
That's the thing is, you of course, you're probably don't go for. You are not reenacting. Okay, you're not in a reenactment when you are costuming a theater production, okay? You are not trying to use all of the same materials and all the same layers or something like that when you are costuming a show. And this is something that was brought up with the Hamilton costuming. I was reading an article about this. I'll try to remember to send this link to Sam. But the original costumes for that show, they did have them made by reenactors.
Right.
But they were way too hot for the movement that was going into it. So they ended up adapting them, and like only the outer layer is wool instead of like 6 layers
as
of
long
wool,
as you get across
mm-hmm.
the ambience or the era or the ambience of what's going on, that works. But if it's totally a distraction, you're talking about. I think the other thing I did in Music Man is everybody had on like what I called petty pants. They had on bloomers.
Yes.
And so because they did a lot of dancing, and the library scene was one, and the girls got, kicked up a lot and things like that. So 69 carats.
So one reason you get to, obviously in a show, one reason you get to do some anachronistic things, like you used a bunch of poly satin to make Music Man clothes, right? Okay.
Well, I also, made opera costumes, and the boning was not, from a whale.
Well, also,
I mean,
those people back then, they were not walking around the library in synchronized.
They weren't dancing.
Singing, okay?
Yeah, they weren't dancing and singing and jumping off of the tables.
When you look at that historical accuracy, I think what I would really ask you to go for is silhouette.
Right. And I think when I'm saying prairie, that really sticks out in my mind, because when I go and I see Phantom of the Opera and they're wearing the dresses that were made for Oklahoma the year before, it just really, I can't do it.
Right.
You cannot, just because the dress is long, it should not be out of calico. Okay.
Right.
Use the poly satin.
Yes.
Do use the poly satin in, what did I just say? What was the plan?
Phantom of the Opera.
In Phantom, right. Now, I used to make things thinking, how many ways can I use this dress?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I would make dresses with a top and a bottom where they look like a dress. And built-in alterations, things like that, where, you can make the waist smaller in ways and things. And thinking, ooh, I could use this for this and this and this and this.
Let's back up a little bit, because I think that should be later in the series. We should go more in depth on that. We should write that down for sure. Okay, let's take a little message break. Let's come back and let's talk a little bit more about those first stages of being a costumer after you've been asked and you've kept in mind that you should put people in stockings a lot of the time, and you're going to look at shape and silhouette and stuff like that. Let's come back to that after the message break.
Hey, Mal.
Hey, Mom.
I heard you were easy.
Oh, no.
What does that mean?
No, it means what you really heard was, wow, Mallory, your easy tee looks so good on you.
Oh,
yes.
I should have known that it was something about something you made.
Like you said, you're getting into your golden years. Sometimes, mishearing things. It happens.
No, you're the one that mishears things. I know this. You make lapel pins about it.
Okay, so I am currently wearing an Easy Tee, and I wear them all the time. The Easy Tee is a semi-fitted short sleeve t-shirt made out of a woven fabric, and you draft the Easy Tee to fit your measurements by taking the Easy Tee class.
Well, how do I take this class?
It's an online class that you can watch anytime on SewHere.com. To purchase the class, go to SewHere.com/EasyT. That's just EASYT.
Is this on my computer?
It's on your computer. It's on your phone. It's on your iPad. The class is divided up into short, easily consumable segments, some of which you may not ever need to watch ever again, but some of which you might want to revisit. So you have the ability to mark lessons as completed and also to star lessons, so you can go back and revisit the ones that are most important to you.
And I can vouch, Mallory's Easy Tee is a lot easier than Mallory is.
Once again, go to SewHere.com/EasyT to begin your pattern drafting journey. Sewing out loud. Okay, I just want to impress one more time. You're going to read that script. It is the worst. Here's the reason why. It is the worst to get into rehearsal.
Yes.
And then realize that you don't have the green purse.
Another thing that might happen is you may have to correct the director.
Yeah.
Another thing that I have done too is went to the director and said, this scene calls for the character to have on a fur stole.
Uh-huh.
I have a great fur coat I'd really like to have on stage, but they make a reference to the fur stole. Right. Can we change the wording to fur coat or just fur or something like that? And the director might say, well, yeah, if you think it's a really good costume piece, let's not, let's use it.
Yeah.
So that can happen too.
So, and some shows will let you change words like that. Some won't.
Some won't.
Okay.
Right.
So you do have to keep that in mind.
That's why you go to the director.
And you need to have a schedule. Okay. So let's get ourselves out of the show.
And the other thing is, the other thing is, not only are you working with the director, you're working with the music director, and you may be working with the scene builder, the scene people. So this happened to us in the Emerald City, turned out to be the Teal City.
Yeah.
And it was a guest set designer. So we had to go from our emerald clothing to our teal clothing.
Yeah.
Yes, the director came to us and said, "Uh-oh, we have a teal city. It's not emerald at all. You're going to have to change the costumes." This is after everything's been bought, done. So I'm dyeing fabric teal color.
So, working with those people, having a good relationship with them is great. You need to know how many actors you're going to be working with, and you need a schedule.
The best thing you could have is a spreadsheet.
Okay.
Here's the actor, how many costumes, and then you have on there somewhere where you're going to do fittings.
Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, let's talk about the schedule. Okay, that's what I want to talk about. You need to know when dress rehearsal is going to start.
That's right.
And you need to know when they're going to be start doing blocking and stuff, because you talked about green purse.
Right.
They might want some of that stuff. Is that a prop that you're in charge of, or is it
That's
something?
The other thing.
Yeah.
Is it a prop or is it a costume piece? Right.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. The other thing is what Mom said. Okay, let's talk about working with actors or performers or whatever. When you do show choir and a lot of people are wearing the same piece of clothing, it's kind of nice in some ways.
Yes.
And you can know which measurements to take.
Right.
So you're going to have a measurement sheet.
Yes. Measure everything.
Most
Measure the
likely.
circumference of their head. Measure how
Their
big
wrist.
around their wrist is, their ankle is, what size shoe.
Yep.
And that's another thing. Are your actors bringing in their own shoes, or do you have to? So if you're in an equity house, equity actors don't have to do anything.
Right.
Okay? So you have to provide undergarments.
They just have to act.
Right. They have to act. So you have to provide everything down to their undergarments, unless they say, I prefer to bring in my own undergarments.
Uh-huh.
Okay? By contract, you have to clothe them from skin up.
Right.
Okay? Including shoes, all those things. If there are some non-equity actors hired, or you're in high school or whatever, you're going to have to decide this between your director and everything. Are they going to bring in their shoes? What kind of shoes do they need? Are they bringing in their socks? Whatever. So try and get those things right up front too, because there will be somebody who doesn't bring them in, and you're going to have to figure out how to
So getting
dress
all of that
them.
information too, you don't want to be wondering if a costume piece is going to fit somebody, like
Right.
maybe one that's already exists, and then you're like, well, it kind of looks like it, but I don't know if it'll fit their wrist or
Right.
if their head or whatever, or this
Right.
hat will work for them. So having all of those measurements. So you're going to need to ask the director for a time when those people can come in for that preliminary
Right.
measurement session.
The other thing is sometimes the costumer is also responsible for wigging. So you may have to wig someone or help them figure out their makeup. Now, sometimes there's a person that does that.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
You're putting
Am I really doing
You're
this?
putting too
Okay.
much information.
I
yet,
think about
okay?
this all at once
I know,
when I do
this. So you get that preliminary fitting,
Right.
and then you see how many costume pieces
Right.
each person needs. You set a spreadsheet. Actor, how many costume pieces?
Right.
This is a to-do list. This is
Yes.
a check-off list. Are they bringing it? Are you providing
Right.
it? Blah, blah, blah. That, yes, very good.
Inform them of the deadlines right
Yes.
then.
You need to have these things. Where are these costumes going to be stored?
Right, and how. Like, especially, okay, so more than likely, too, you will be doing what we call pulling costumes, right? more than likely there is some, you're working out of a costume shop, hopefully, or maybe you've got somebody's costume shop you can pull. So my procedure is, yes, I had racks.
Right.
And then I had wooden things I had your dad make that hung on these racks that said the character's name and the actor's name. You can have both, okay? Or you can decide what you're going to do.
Well, that can be good because some actors will play more than one character.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I generally would use the actor's name. Okay. And because what you're going to do, you're going to pull these costumes, put them behind, their name tag on the rack, right? And then they're going to have to try these on, or you're going to have to see if you have to alter them or anything. And then you're going to have to see if you have to build anything. And you also are going to label every single piece of everything.
Right.
Okay? Because they will lose it.
They'll put it somewhere.
Or somebody will be wearing somebody else's, and then
somebody else's black pants or somebody else's black socks.
And they're like, my
whatever.
pants don't fit today. And you're like, well, it's because they're not yours. The other thing, hope I'm not skipping ahead.
I just don't want to, give
it
all away at the same time.
I'm not going to do this until we get to performing.
Well,
Go ahead.
let's just talk about that pre-show, organization and everything.
Right.
But organization is incredibly important, right? And the labeling.
Yeah, I don't see how anybody could do it without it.
You have to be well organized. You have to look at those time periods. You have to look at the silhouettes. Oh, I did want to say something about time periods. Okay, so you're like, 1890s, okay? You also have to, you've read the script, so you know about the characters. You need to know, their income level and everything.
Absolutely.
And I think something that my costuming teacher in college said to me that I've never forgotten is, those high-class people, they'll be wearing, some of the stuff you find in the textbooks and or on that very surface
usually
research.
The richer colors, and yes.
And then those poorer people or the lower class people or whatever those characters are, they could be anywhere from 50, to more years behind. Okay? They could be behind. They are wearing the older clothes. And I thought that was such a neat observation.
And they're going to be plainer.
Yes.
Different kinds of fabric probably.
Generally.
So all of those things have to be taken into consideration.
Yes. So the organization, what actors need what, and having that relationship with the director and all of the other creative team.
And one of the director relationships is, say you have a show like Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. Tell me the time period.
Yeah, right.
It's arbitrary.
Yes.
So you have to really get this out of the director. You have to say, I want to use a lot of sequins and plastic.
Right.
Or I want to use a lot of fur and this. Or, when he comes on and sings his quasi-Elvis song, I am having him in an Elvis wig.
Man, what a show.
It's the best show in the world of costume. It takes more costumes than anything in the whole world. And the show lasts 45 minutes or something. It's just, but, so you have, that is really a show you have to keep conveying, especially because what you might have in your mind might not show up.
Right.
Okay. You're thinking, well, I know I can order this and make this. And then you go to order it and it no longer exists, or it's just not available at the time or something.
You also need to figure out if you have to submit any types of designs or something
Do they want sketches? Do they want photographs?
Right.
Do they want something you tore out of a magazine?
Okay, I think the last thing we should cover in this episode that I think you might be itching to cover, and you kind of went over to earlier, are your resources.
Yes.
What are your resources?
Right.
They are not just the monetary budget, right?
Yeah, somebody will give you a budget. It will suck, okay? It will be ridiculous. You're going to have to costume, 60 people for $500, right? And there's a wedding dress involved and, a coronation gown and, whatever. And you're like, oh, yeah, I can do that because you're all, gung-ho right now. So... And you think you can just sew
the 12 stages of costuming, or what is it? The 7 stages of costuming. Gung ho, uno. Reading your script with a beverage, and you're like, yeah, this will be great. Okay. So what are your resources? Money is a resource.
they're gonna tell you what your limited resources are, right? And very likely if you're like in community theater or any type of theater that's established, or like a college or a school, there'll be some sort of costume pickings. There will be some sort of costume shop, or which might be like a closet that the janitor used to have.
Yep. Oh, this is where we keep our costumes.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my God.
Some unair conditioned attic with no lights in it.
Oh, you're talking about Lyceum.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What about when we were at Columbia College?
Oh yeah, they had. Oh no. That was like spooky.
That was scary.
Spooky. Yeah, it was spooky.
I mean, actually, the stuff wasn't in like bad shape or
anything.
anything.
No, but it was a spooky place to be. It was like up behind the stage, and there were no lights.
Like trunks
and it was
masks.
like the staircase was painted black, and there was no railing on it. It was like bizarre. It was very bizarre. You needed a flashlight.
The glow tape had not made it up there.
Right. But
yeah.
Anyway, so that's basically your first resource.
Okay.
Okay. Other resources are other theaters. Many theaters within a community will trade or borrow from each other. Mm-hmm. And then from within that, there will be parameters. Can we alter your costume or not? Mm-hmm. If we do alter it, you have to make sure it can get undone or whatever. There are things like that you have to decide. Also, people will donate things to you.
Yeah.
And what I see on Facebook now is I'm doing this play. Does anybody have a purple business suit?
Yeah.
So that's a resource I never had.
Yeah, the community.
Yes.
At your fingertips, sort of advertising like that need or whatever. And also, we talked about limited budget, needing garments, charity shops like Goodwill.
Yes, any sort of recycle wear.
Yeah.
If anyone ever calls you up and says, "Oh, I used to do square dancing and I don't anymore, and I have all," take them. Yeah, just take whatever anybody has. Oh, I have this old wedding dress. Take it. It doesn't have to be a wedding dress. I have dyed many a wedding dress.
Yes.
Okay, right in my washing machine. So don't turn anything down until you've seen it, and then you can give it to Goodwill.
And that's why our house is filled with
Well, I was going to say. So my daughter Hillary's resource, everybody's resource that knows me is my costume closet. I actually have a few things.
Yeah.
That I have had to make over the years, so I kept them. Or they weren't going to pay me for them.
Yeah.
So I made them and, let them use them and kept them.
So if you need a set of pinafores
for
Annie, we have
they're being used.
They're being used again.
Yeah, they're being used.
I'm saying after this show. Okay.
This would be their fourth use, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mom has
22 pinafores.
Did this come from when I did Annie?
Yes.
At Smithton?
Yes.
So I was like 12.
Yes.
So these pinafores are 16 years old.
Well, that's certainly not the oldest thing in there.
Yeah.
But
so she has and when I say, I don't mean 4 pinafores.
Yeah, 22 pinafores. 22 pinafores. They're all different.
Yep, they're all different.
Like 3 or 4 different designs.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we got your orphans covered if you have that. And then always do make sure, I think we'll come back to laundering and whatnot later, but make sure you take good care of anything you rented or borrowed.
And if you rent or borrow, you ask how it needs to be laundered.
Yeah.
Make sure you have it tagged with that company's name or, that costume shop's name in it. They should have done that. Doesn't mean they did, but you can cause some really bad juju between somebody. Remember the wool top hat I never got back? Yeah.
Okay, so a contract of some kind also is good.
And actually listing the specific. Yes. Now the problem is, sometimes people will give your costumes out without you knowing it.
Yes.
That can happen too.
Yes.
But you need a list of what you have borrowed or what you have loaned out, and there needs to be signatures on there because people will say, "Oh, we didn't have that."
Right.
Even though you see it the next season on that person's head. But anyway.
I just want to say that when we talked about resources, then what can actors bring or what can't they bring? Like you said, equity people, it's in their it's in the terms of them having their equity card.
Well, and you'll have people say, "Oh, I have this perfect dress for this scene," and it might be. So the thing you need to say to them is, you can bring it, and the director and I will have to
look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Because yes, they can be a great resource.
Right.
Sometimes it's something you'll put on somebody else. That happens too.
Yeah, so that is all fabulous. Okay, well, I think that's good for some of those resources. And then I think we should come back and talk about, putting scissors or rotary cutters to fabric, whether or not it's from scratch or altering something in the next episode of Sewing Out Loud. Okay, Mom?
So long and so happy.
Thanks for listening to Sewing Out Loud. For even more expert sewing advice, visit sewhere.com.